The life you know is just the surface of something much deeper, much more intimate, much more governed by the invisible than anyone dares to admit. You walk through this world believing that circumstances have power, that events are lords, that matter decides. And so you live like spiritual beggars, hoping something will change out there so you can then allow yourselves to change inside. But I tell you, this reversal is the root of all human suffering. The world is not the cause, the world is the consequence. It doesn't command, it obeys. Every detail of your life is an imprint shaped by the state you silently carry within, even when you are not aware of it. You think you live experiences, but in truth you live states. Always. Every instant. Even when you say, I'm not feeling anything, you are feeling something. Indifference, expectation, doubt, stagnation. The state is continuous, and it is this state that builds, organizes, attracts, repels, opens, and closes the doors of your reality. I speak to you as someone who has seen men change entire destinies without moving a finger in the physical world. I have seen those whom society called failures silently assume the feeling of victory, and life bow before them as if recognizing its true owner. I have seen suffering women internally put on the state of love, and love find them effortlessly, like a river that naturally follows its course. I have seen poor people feel rich before they had any proof, and money flow from such unlikely paths that even the wise were silenced. All this because life does not respond to what you wish, but to what you accept to be. You have been taught to think that feeling is weakness, that the world is concrete, that things are as they are. But I say that feeling is the highest power that exists. It is the root of creation. Feeling is the breath that shapes the invisible. It is the silent order that governs what you call destiny. Before anything manifests, it needs to exist as a feeling within you. Not as a fleeting emotion, but as a deep recognition, an inner yes, a silent knowing that it is already real. And what makes this understanding so powerful and so dangerous for those who prefer to remain asleep is that it makes you all fully responsible for the life you live. There are no more culprits. There is no chance. There is no luck. There is only the state you sustain, consciously or unconsciously. And until you assume this power, you will continue to be tossed from one circumstance to another, like someone who lives reacting instead of commanding. That is why today I speak to you about the mode of feeling. Not as philosophy, not as theory, but as the lost key to creation. Everything that exists around you is just a projection of how you feel about yourselves now. And as long as the internal feeling remains the same, no matter how many actions you take, how many plans you make, how many opportunities appear, everything will remain the same. Because it is feeling that gives life to form. It is feeling that says to reality, be it done this way. And when you understand this, something within you awakens, not a superficial enthusiasm, but a deep memory. The memory that you are creators, not spectators. Lords, not victims. The one who feels is the one who commands. And the one who commands the invisible does not need to fight against the visible. Today, I want you to stop looking at the world as if it had power over you. I want you to abandon that old belief that life has its own will. Life creates nothing by itself. It only replicates the state you sustain. That is why I say the mode of feeling is everything, because everything is born from it. Everything returns to it. Everything obeys it. And until you master it, you will live as foreigners within your own existence. But when you master it, when you truly understand that feeling is the beginning and the end of all creation, then nothing will be impossible. Nothing will be distant. Nothing will be out of reach. Everything will be now, because everything is already within. You never manifest what you want. You manifest what you are able to accept feeling as true now. This is where most stumble, because they confuse desire with identity. Desire is movement, it is impulse, it is dream, it is a distant image. Identity is position, it is root, it is silent conviction. The universe does not respond to what you want, but to what you assume to be. And that is why so many ask, pray, affirm, visualize, but continue living the same repeated story. Because behind all the beautiful words, the real feeling remains the same. You say, I want prosperity, but you feel lack. You say, I want love, but you feel abandonment. You say, I want to win, but you feel insecurity. And it is this feeling, not the desire, that creates. Life cannot bring what you cannot sustain internally. And to sustain does not mean to shout, to repeat 1,000 times, or to strive to believe. To sustain means to accept as your own. It means allowing the body, the breath, the silence, the heart, everything within you to recognize that state as something natural. What is natural manifests easily. What is felt as distant remains distant. There are people who wish for abundance, but carry the feeling that they do not deserve it. that they cannot have it, that one day, who knows? And life, obedient, reflects exactly that. Abundance that never arrives. When I say that you only manifest what you are, I am talking about what you have become inside, even if no one sees it. You become rich long before you see money. You become loved long before someone appears. You become healthy long before the body responds. Assuming the state is not fantasy, it is creation. It is the seed planted in the invisible soil of consciousness. The physical world is just the time needed for the harvest to reach you. And this is where many err. They want to feel later. They want to wait for the proof to then accept, but this is an illusion. The proof never comes first. Life does not give advance guarantees. Life reacts to your state always. If you insist on looking at the circumstances to decide what to feel, you are handing over your authority to the reflection. And the reflection is slow, it is delayed, it is old. Creation happens before the form, never after. Assuming the state is entering internally and silently, the reality you desire, even when everything around you says the opposite. And this courage to feel before seeing is what separates the creators from the spiritual beggars. The creator accepts, the beggar waits, the creator decides, the beggar hopes, the creator becomes, the beggar wishes. And the truth is this: the moment you assume the feeling of being what you desire, the world has already begun to move in your favor. Everything is already being reorganized. Everything is already responding. But this movement only begins when you stop asking and start being. Because you will never receive what you have not been able to accept within yourself. You will always receive exactly what you are. Feeling precedes the fact. Always. This is the law that governs everything, and yet it is the most ignored by those who live reacting to the world. People grow up believing that they need to see to then feel, that they need to receive to then give thanks, that they need to conquer to then rest. But this order is the prison of human consciousness. The one who waits for something to happen to then allow themselves to feel is doomed to repeat the same life infinitely, because they are placing the effect in the position of cause. Nothing changes until you change first within yourself. Nothing blooms until you feel the seed already alive before seeing it sprout. Life does not respond to the logic of the senses, it responds to the logic of consciousness. You can look at the external circumstances and say, but nothing has changed. And yet, if within you the state has changed, it is as if all reality has already been recreated. The external only awaits the time needed to reveal what already exists in the invisible. But most insist on watching the ground before planting, expecting to see fruits without having assumed the state of someone who owns the harvest. They want to feel joy only after everything goes right. They want to feel security only after the money arrives. They want to feel love only after someone chooses them. This dependence is the cycle that imprisons. The one who understands the law does not act like this. They reverse the order. They feel first. They create first. They assume first. Even when the world shouts the opposite, they remain. Even when logic says there is no reason to believe, they believe. Even when everything seems unfavorable, they do not try to negotiate with the circumstances. They ignore them. Because they know that the world has no choice. They know that life needs to bend to the assumed state. And it is this silent confidence, this inner firmness, that separates the conscious creator from the one who lives enslaved to what they see. Feeling is the root cause. It is the seed that contains all unfolding. When you feel something as true now, you are not imagining a future possibility. You are decreeing a present reality, and the physical world will only follow the decree. For those who see with inner eyes, everything is already complete. That is why those who feel before seeing do not need to accelerate anything, do not need to beg, do not need to doubt. Manifestation is not something that is coming, it is something that has already come, and you are walking towards it. When you assume the feeling first, it does not matter if the circumstances seem fixed, if nothing moves, if everything remains the same. The invisible has already changed. Life has already reorganized itself. The path has already been prepared. And at the right moment, which is always the perfect moment, what you felt will become visible. Because feeling first is creating. Seeing later is just recognizing what you had already accepted as true. True feeling does not ask for proof. This is the point where many fall because they confuse faith with anxiety, trust with vigilance, certainty with the need for confirmation. They say they believe, but spend the whole day looking for signs, observing every detail, interpreting every event as if the universe had to deliver daily reports on what it is doing. But whoever watches has not assumed. Whoever waits for signs is still saying to the world, I don't have it. And this silent declaration creates exactly that. absence. When you really assume a state, you do not need to ask if it is working. You do not need to look for clues, coincidences, movements. You do not need to watch the seed to know if it has germinated. True faith is a rest, not an effort. It settles in the body as a silent certainty, something so deep that it does not require words. The one who has really assumed wealth does not wake up wondering if tomorrow they will have more. They simply live as someone who already possesses. The one who has assumed love does not measure gestures, wait for messages, count signs. They just are, and the world responds. Doubt is born from the attempt to control the reflection. Anxiety is born from the belief that the external world still has power. But when you understand that reality is just the shadow of your inner state, everything becomes clear. If you have changed inside, it is done. The shadow will follow. There is no need for haste, for questioning, for confirmation. The reflection is inevitable. Not because you need it to be, but because that is the nature of creation. When you feel something as true, the physical world has no choice but to express that truth. And so why look for signs? Why demand proof? The sign is dispensable when creation is already complete within you. The sign is just an echo, and whoever lives waiting for an echo has not yet pronounced the true voice. When you assume the state, you live with naturalness, and this naturalness is the greatest testimony that manifestation already exists. The less you look, the faster it arrives, not because you are attracting it, but because you have stopped blocking the flow with your anxious vigilance. The Creator does not ask for guarantees. They generate, they assume, they rest. They know that the world is just the inevitable reproduction of what they have chosen to feel. When the state is true, external proof is neither necessary nor relevant, because the one who knows does not need to see, and the one who sees only sees because they first chose to know. Do not fight against the old, replace it. This principle is simple, but the human mind insists on complicating it, because it has been trained from an early age to face problems with force, effort, and resistance. People believe that to change an internal state, they need to fight against it, expel it, destroy it, or overcome what they feel. But none of this works. The more you try to eliminate an unwanted feeling, the more you strengthen it. The more attention you give to the old, the more it takes root. Consciousness does not let go of what you fight. It lets go of what you replace. The mistake is in the focus. Most look inward and say, I need to stop feeling fear. I need to get rid of insecurity. I need to eliminate lack. I need to erase this pain. But each attempt to eliminate reinforces the very existence of what you want to eliminate. It is like trying to put out a fire by blowing on it. You fuel the flames. The mind does not understand negation. It understands direction. And when you put your energy into fighting something, the direction is precisely that something. You are not saying, I want to get out of this. You are saying, this still governs me. Real transformation does not happen by force, but by replacement. If you want to stop feeling scarcity, do not fight against scarcity. Occupy yourself with the feeling of abundance. If you want to stop feeling rejection, do not confront rejection. Allow yourself to feel loved. If you want to stop feeling anxiety, do not fight fear. Inhabit the state of security. The mind molds itself to what you assume, not to what you try to tear out. It aligns with the new state when you wear it naturally, like someone who chooses a new outfit without needing to destroy the old one, just leaving it aside. This is where many stumble, because they are conditioned to believe that change requires effort, confrontation, pain, internal battle. But in consciousness, there is no battle. There is choice. You do not overcome an old state. You transcend it simply by ceasing to feed it. And you cease to feed it when you start living, internally, in the state you desire. When you choose to feel something new, the old one dissolves by itself, as the night disappears when the sun rises. You do not fight against the darkness. You turn on the light. Replacement is the path of the conscious creator. It is gentle, silent, precise. You do not need to analyze the past. You do not need to investigate wounds. You do not need to resolve every detail of your history. Just assume a new state, and the old one dissolves, because it no longer finds space to exist. You do not destroy the old. You simply become someone for whom the old no longer makes sense. Consciousness is not a battlefield. It is a fertile field. And what you plant today, the state you choose to inhabit, will inevitably become the reality you harvest tomorrow. Replace, do not fight. Choose, do not resist. Feel, do not force. And life will follow the new direction you have given it. Feeling as if it already is. This is the apex, the point where the entire law of assumption reveals itself in its purest and most powerful form. When you feel as if you already have it, as if you already are it, as if you are already living exactly what you desire, you completely eliminate the distance between you and the manifestation. In this state, there is no future, there is no waiting, there is no one day, there is only the now, and the now is the only door through which any creation can enter. What few understand is that feeling as if it already is not pretending. It is not imagining something distant. It is not playing make-believe. It is assuming an identity. It is internally wearing the condition you want to live in such a natural way that the body recognizes it, the mind surrenders, and the heart confirms it. When this alignment happens, the external world loses the ability to contradict what you have assumed inside. It may even look the same for a while, but it is already dissolved. Every person, every event, every detail silently begins to move towards the state you have chosen. The mind, addicted to logic, will ask, "But how is this going to happen? Who is going to bring it? Where will it come from? When will it come?" And the answer is always the same: it does not matter. When you assume the state, the how ceases to be your problem. Your only job is to feel. Life's job is to organize the rest. And it always organizes. Because reality is not rigidly physical, it is malleable, plastic, obedient. It bends to the dominant feeling of your consciousness with absolute precision. That is why those who feel before seeing manifest with ease. Not because they are lucky, not because they have secret methods, not because they are special, but because they have understood the foundation. Everything already exists in the invisible, waiting for you to assume the version of yourself for whom that is natural. The universe does not deliver what you desire with desperation. It delivers what you can feel as familiar. Wealth comes to the inner rich. Love comes to the one who feels loved. Healing comes to the one who feels healed. Everything obeys the feeling you sustain, not the request you make. And when you wear that state, when you really assume it, there is no gap between you and the manifestation. The distance disappears because you have stopped looking for it outside and found it inside. And everything that is found inside becomes inevitable outside. This is the law. Not because I say so, not because it is philosophy, but because that is the structure of consciousness itself. Feeling as if it already is the moment when you stop trying to create and start allowing creation to reveal itself. It is the instant in which you abandon the struggle, the effort, the anxiety, and enter a deep, firm, inviolable rest. Because the one who already is does not ask, does not wait, does not beg. The one who already is just lives, and the world follows. From now on, I want you to stop looking at the world as if it had authority over what you can or cannot live. Stop begging for crumbs of change, as if you were subjects of circumstances that you yourselves created without realizing it. Nothing out there can decide your destiny. Nothing out there can determine who you are. Nothing out there has the power to prevent what you have internally assumed as true. Reality is not sovereign. You are. You have spent years trying to push the world with your hands, trying to convince the circumstances to change, trying to make people understand, trying to move external pieces as if they were responsible for your future. But life does not respond to force, it responds to state. As long as you continue begging for signs, waiting for permissions, asking for confirmation, the world will continue to return to you only waiting, delay, uncertainty. But the instant you assume a new feeling of being, not tomorrow, not when something happens, but now, everything bends. I want you to understand, creation does not begin in doing.